He's been my son forever, seems like. Although he's my stepson, I still love him like he's my blood.
Reba McEntire stood at 70 years old with a secret she kept buried for decades. In 1989, she married her manager and instantly became a stepmother to 3 children. But one of them would become the center of a story that shocked Hollywood. For years, people whispered about what really happened behind closed doors. Then, in August 2025, everything changed. Reba finally broke her silence and revealed the truth nobody expected. What she said about her stepson left fans speechless. This is the story Reba refused to tell until now. Reba Nell McEntire was born on March 28, 1955, in McAlester, Oklahoma. She weighed only 5 pounds and 8 ounces, the tiniest of 4 children. Her father, Clark McEntire, was a legend in the rodeo world. He had won world champion steer roper titles in 1957, 1958, and again in 1961. He earned over $50,000 in prize money during his career, which would be around $400,000 today. Her mother, Jacqueline, had once dreamed of becoming a singer. She had even won singing contests back in the 1940s. But instead of chasing her dream, she started teaching in a one-room schoolhouse for just $75 a month. Reba came from a family full of champions. Her grandfather, John Wesley McEntire, had also been a steer roping world champion in 1934. Reba was the 3rd child, right between Paquet and Susie, and her younger sister Alice. The 4 of them later became a harmony group, performing together at rodeos and small-town fairs all over Oklahoma. They lived on an 8,000-acre ranch in a place called Chalky. Life there was not easy. Reba started doing hard chores when she was just 5 years old. Every morning at 6 before school, she helped castrate bulls with hot iron tools, gave cattle worm medicine using metal syringes, and gathered eggs from 200 chickens. The ranch had 500 Hereford cows, and the family couldn't afford vets, so they did everything themselves. Her hands got tough from wrestling calves and fixing barbed wire fences. Spring roundups could last 12 hours straight. After school, she worked until the sun went down, and sometimes didn't start her homework until 10 at night, by kerosene lamp, when the power went out. That kind of life taught her how to handle pressure. Later, when she had to perform more than 100 concerts every year, she never complained. Her father gave each kid $2 a week if they did all their chores perfectly. That small reward taught her how to handle money and responsibility. Years later, she would manage a career worth $95 million with that same mindset. Reba's family didn't just raise cattle, they raised rodeo champions. Her grandfather John had made history in 1934 when he roped a steer in 12.3 seconds, setting a record that stayed untouched for 8 years. Her dad kept that tradition alive and earned $18,000 in just 1 year in 1958. That would be like making $165,000 today. He went to 47 rodeos across 12 states. They were always on the road, sometimes driving 16 hours to get to a competition. Her dad didn't like paying for hotel rooms, so the whole family would sleep in the car to save $8 a night. While driving, their mother would teach them how to sing in 4-part harmony. Songs like Tennessee Waltz and Your Cheatin' Heart were their practice material. That 1952 Buick turned into their music school on wheels. Reba learned how to breathe right while singing in that car. By the time she was 8, she could sing perfect harmony with her siblings. Their first paid gig came at the Kiowa County Fair, where they each earned $3. That long journey of car rides and country songs helped her become the artist behind 35 #1 hits on the country charts. Even with all the talent around her, Reba's childhood was not full of praise. Her father, Clark, never told her he loved her. Not once. She opened up about this in her 1994 autobiography. and it shocked many of her fans. He had lost his own father at age 12, and that pain made him keep his feelings locked up. Reba's mother was the opposite. She cheered her on from the very beginning. Reba was just 6 when she sang "Away in a Manger" for a school show in front of 150 parents. She forgot the words halfway through, but made up her own and kept going. That moment showed she had quick thinking and stage confidence, even at such a young age. Her mother saw something special. She drove 45 minutes every week to take Reba to piano lessons that cost $3 each. It might sound small, but Clark was only making $250 a month during slow seasons, so those piano lessons were a big deal. Her mom's support helped her believe in herself, and her dad's silence made her determined to prove she was good enough. By the time she was 11, Reba had her own horse. Clark bought her a quarter horse named Champ for $150. He told her success would only come with practice, so she started training every morning at 5:30. From age 11 to 21, she raced in 89 rodeos and earned $8,967. At the same time, she kept straight A's in school. Sometimes she studied in the back of trucks between rodeo events. Her best barrel racing time was 17.2 seconds at the 1973 Oklahoma State Fair, placing 3rd out of 47. She got $85 for that run. Her family paid $12 a month for piano lessons and another $8 for guitar classes with Tommy Whitworth. Reba promised to practice guitar 90 minutes every day, and she kept that promise. By age 15, she could play 23 songs and had memorized over 200 country hits. She performed in honky-tonks for $25 a night. Her siblings formed the Singing McEntires and did 67 rodeos in 1971, earning $1,847 together. All that time on stage helped Reba build the skills she would carry with her forever: how to connect with a crowd, how to earn money, and how to lead. Reba was just 19 when something unexpected changed her whole life. It happened in 1974 during the National Finals Rodeo when she sang the national anthem. Red Steagall heard her sing that night. He didn't just clap, he made calls. He set up a meeting with Mercury Records. 1 year later, in 1975, she signed her first record deal. They gave her a small advance of $25,000, barely enough to even get started. Her first single came out in 1976. It was called "I Don't Want to Be a One-Night Stand," and it only reached number 25 on the charts. That entire year, she earned just $847 in royalties. Things got worse. Her first album didn't sell well at all, just 5,000 copies in the whole first year. The label didn't even try to promote it. They spent $0 on marketing, and behind the scenes, they were forcing her to sound like someone else. Her producer, Jerry Kennedy, was told to make her sound like Dolly Parton. They even cut the budget of her album in the middle of recording, dropping it from $15,000 to just $8,000. She had to record all her vocals in just one day. In 1976, Reba and her husband Charlie packed everything they had into a U-Haul and moved to Nashville. They had $3,200 in savings, but Nashville didn't welcome her easily. One producer said she sounded like a goat bleating. Another told her that her Oklahoma accent made her unmarketable trash. She kept recording, but the first 3 albums she made from 1976 to 1980 sold less than 45,000 copies combined. In 1979, she sang "A Poor Man's Roses" in one single take. She had just found out her grandmother was dying. But even with all that emotion, the song never made it to radio. Nobody played it. People in the industry told her to get vocal coaching. In 1978, someone told her she should think about a different career. During one recording session for "Feel the Fire," things got so tense she locked herself in a bathroom stall and cried for 20 minutes. To pay her bills, Reba worked at a restaurant called the Stockyard in Nashville. She made just $2.13 an hour plus tips. Some of the customers were disrespectful, not knowing she was a recording artist. At the same time, she was doing over 200 shows a year. She drove herself around in an old Chevy van that had 180,000 miles on it. In 1978, that van broke down in a blizzard near Amarillo. She and her bandmates were stuck for 14 hours in freezing cold. They burned guitar cases to stay warm and shared a single candy bar. In 1979, she sang for free at Huntsville State Prison. Inmates threw money and cigarettes on stage. She picked up $47 and used it for gas money. One time, she performed in Tulsa with a 102-degree fever and strep throat. She collapsed after the show. Another time, she played a county fair for $150 and the check bounced. In 1980, she switched to a new label, Polygram or Mercury, and hoped things would get better. But a fight broke out between two executives. One wanted her to sound traditional. The other wanted her to go pop. It became a toxic environment. In February 1981, one of them told her she was too country for country radio. She slammed her fist on the table and said she was ready to quit music. Her 1980 album, Feel the Fire, only sold 12,000 copies. The label spent $200,000 promoting other artists that same quarter and gave Reba nothing. Internal memos later called her difficult and unmarketable. They even tried to make her record disco versions of country songs. She said no. That led to a 6-month standoff where she couldn't even record new material. Behind the scenes, Jerry Kennedy paid out of his own pocket to help her record demos and keep her career going. Her personal life wasn't any easier. She had married Charlie in 1976. He was 10 years older and had 2 teenage sons. He ran a 7,000-acre ranch, and Reba was touring 8 to 10 months a year. The boys didn't want her around. She felt like an outsider in her own home. Sometimes she came back from tour, and the house was empty. Charlie would be gone for days. One night, after a fight about her career, she wrote, "Somebody should leave," in tears. Charlie didn't want her using his last name professionally. He even told friends he was embarrassed by her music. One night in 1980, he threatened to burn her guitars if she didn't stop touring. Reba slept in her car that night and scribbled lyrics on napkins. Their marriage lasted 11 years, but the connection had already faded by 1984. But something shifted in 1981 and 1982. She started opening for Conway Twitty. Every night, more than 15,000 people saw her on stage, and many thought she was the true star of the show. Her live album, Unlimited, came out in 1982. It was recorded at the Oklahoma State Fair in front of 8,500 fans. She got 3 standing ovations that night. The album didn't get big label support, but it sold 25,000 copies just through word of mouth. Some people started calling her the female George Strait. She almost gave up on music just months before her first #1 hit. In April 1983, Can't Even Get the Blues climbed to the top. But Reba was quietly battling something that nearly ended everything. That same year, the song sold 547,000 copies and earned her first Academy of Country Music nomination. But what the fans didn't see was that Reba was visiting a psychiatrist twice a week, paying $3,200 for sessions that helped her fight crippling stage fright. Before shows, she vomited from fear. She even took Valium before stepping onto the Grand Ole Opry stage for the first time. Then came a turning point. On March 15, 1983, she performed the same hit at the Ryman Auditorium with no medication. For the first time, she walked off stage as a confident star. A year later, everything exploded. Her album, My Kind of Country, came out in October 1984, and by December had sold 1.2 million copies. It beat Dolly Parton's The Great Pretender by 300,000 units. Reba had rejected 47 label-approved songs and personally picked all 10 tracks. Her bold choices paid off, especially when How Blue became a favorite. But things got tense. That year at the CMA Awards, Reba beat Dolly for Female Vocalist of the Year. What happened backstage shocked everyone. Dolly's manager confronted Reba's team and accused them of cheating the votes. As Reba's sales jumped to $2.8 million, Dolly's stayed at $2.1 million. Then rumors started to swirl. At a private party, Dolly reportedly called Reba that red-headed upstart. The tension spilled into public view as both stars kept clashing over radio interviews. It became so obvious that Country Music magazine ran stories about their feud for 6 months straight. By 1985, Reba was doing 157 shows a year, earning $12,000 each night and bringing in $1.8 million from touring alone. Then came the night everything went wrong in front of thousands. She was performing in Houston on November 8th, wearing an $800 sequined gown, when it ripped from the shoulder to her waist in the middle of her song. Her bra was fully exposed, but instead of running off, Reba held the dress together and finished the performance. "Y'all got your money's worth tonight," she joked. That moment was captured by a photographer and spread through National Enquirer and People magazine. Surprisingly, her ticket sales jumped by 23%, and over 2,000 fans wrote letters praising her for handling it with grace. As her career soared, her marriage started falling apart. "Have I Got a Deal for You?" came out in 1985, followed by Whoever's in New England in 1986. That second album sold 2.1 million copies and became her first to go double platinum. But behind the lyrics were real tears. Reba suspected her husband, Charlie Battles, of cheating. Her phone bill showed 67 calls to one number in Wyoming, and around Christmas 1985, she found love letters in his truck. The $75,000 video for the album's title song showed a woman confronting an unfaithful man, which hit too close to home. During filming, Reba cried so hard they had to stop between takes 14 times. The emotion was raw, and the album stayed on the charts for 58 weeks. It made her the voice of heartbreak for women across the country. She filed for divorce on June 23, 1987. After 11 years of marriage, she cited emotional abuse. Charlie demanded $500,000 and half of her $2.3 million earnings. Reba pushed back. She wanted full control of their $850,000 in ranch properties. In court, her lawyers presented proof of Charlie's gambling debts totaling $127,000. They even showed how he had blocked a $75,000 Las Vegas residency deal. The legal fight lasted 8 months and cost her $89,000 in fees. One of her songs, One Promise Too Late, had lyrics about lies and lawyers, and it was no coincidence. In the end, Reba won full control of her assets, but she poured all the heartbreak into her next songs. That stretch gave her 5 back-to-back chart toppers. By 1988, she was at her peak. Her self-titled album, Reba, had 5 #1 hits, including The Last One to Know and I Know How He Feels. The album sold 3.2 million copies and brought in $8.4 million. Her image became iconic, red hair costing $300 a month to maintain, gowns costing $2,000 each. But behind the glamour, she was losing her voice. Years of non-stop shows had damaged her vocal cords. Doctors found nodules in December 1988 and warned her to slow down or face permanent damage. She secretly went to therapy in Chicago 3 times a week at $150 per session. She drank whiskey-laced tea before singing and used numbing throat sprays. In November, her voice gave out completely. She had to cancel 3 sold-out concerts, losing $180,000. Fans never knew the struggle behind her flawless performances. Then came 1990. Her album, Rumor Has It, sold 3 million copies, but it was the song Fancy that turned heads. It told the story of a mother who forced her daughter into prostitution, and some radio stations refused to play it. Religious groups protested. Reba stood firm, saying it was about survival. Despite the backlash, Fancy earned over 2 million radio spins by 1995 and became her trademark song. The more people resisted it, the more it grew. But then, tragedy hit. On March 16, 1991, a jet carrying her tour manager and 7 band members crashed near San Diego. They had just performed a corporate show for IBM. Reba had planned to fly with them, but stayed behind with her husband and stylist. The crash killed all 10 people on board. Reba went to the site the next morning and saw the wreckage herself. The event broke her. Just 8 months later, she released For My Broken Heart. The album debuted at #1 and sold 4 million copies. Every show became a tribute to her band. She had nightmares for years. In a 1993 interview, she said she saw them calling for help in her dreams. She went through therapy for PTSD and survivor's guilt. That album became her most successful because every word came from pain. In 1994, Reba took a risk. She starred in a made-for-TV movie called Is There Life Out There?, based on her 1992 hit. It aired to 18.2 million viewers, but critics slammed it with a 2.1 out of 10 rating. She lost $2 million in endorsements and took a hit to her acting reputation. She fought with the producers who wanted a cliché romance, while she wanted something real. Even though it was a failure, Reba didn't give up. She used it as a lesson, eventually landing roles in Tremors and her own sitcom, Reba. But drama followed her into music, too. Her duet, Does He Love You with Linda Davis, hit No. Won in 1993, but Davis demanded equal credit, even though she barely contributed. When Davis pushed for 50% royalties, insiders said Reba was furious. Behind the scenes, things got ugly. Davis gave interviews implying Reba stole the spotlight. Despite the feud, the song made over $3 million. Davis got 25%. They never performed together again. The tension never fully faded, even years later. By the end of the 90s, Reba had 13 #1 albums on the country charts. She sold 41 million albums in the US alone. But in 1998, she shocked the industry by turning down a $15 million pop deal. The offer promised pop producers and guaranteed radio play, just like Shania Twain. But Reba said no. She feared losing her country fans. That decision cost her an estimated $50 million, but she didn't regret it. Critics praised her for choosing integrity over fame. The 1991 plane crash stayed with her. She later admitted choosing a cheap charter flight to save $2,000 instead of going commercial. It haunted her. In 1994, she fired 3 longtime managers and her agent. That year, her album It's Your Call peaked at #5. The title song came from her darkest time. From then on, she put safety first, setting new standards in country music touring. In 1989, she married Narvel Blackstock, her manager since 1979. It surprised many because he brought 3 kids, Brandon, Chastity, and Shauna. Reba adopted them all. People whispered about their marriage being a business deal, but Reba told Barbara Walters in 1991 that love doesn't follow business rules. Together, they built a $15 million empire, though rumors of control issues never went away. In late 1996, her voice failed again. She had to cancel 23 shows, losing $3.2 million. Doctors found nodules again. She had surgery at Vanderbilt and stayed silent for 6 weeks. Depression hit hard. Her 1997 album, What If It's You, still hit #1 and sold 500,000 copies in the first week. But she nearly quit. Only Narvel knew she had suicidal thoughts. She credited her son, Shelby, born in 1990, for reminding her life still had meaning. That same year, the Country Music Awards gave her 0 nominations. She had 24 past nods and a #1 album, but still nothing. She called it out in a magazine, saying, "Apparently, having ovaries disqualifies you." Later leaks showed she'd been scored high, but cut by an all-male board. During the broadcast, she performed a medley of her hits, even though it wasn't approved. She got standing ovations, but faced backlash. That moment sparked a movement. In 1998, female country artists formed a coalition, and by 2000, the CMA changed the rules to include more women in the voting process. Reba later won Entertainer of the Year in both 1999 and 2001. On August 14, 1999, disaster struck again. Her custom tour bus caught fire outside Indianapolis, burning $1.2 million worth of costumes and personal items. Her famous red dress from the 1993 CMAs was gone. So were handwritten lyrics and family photos. Insurance only covered $800,000, but she didn't cancel a single show. Fans and fellow artists sent her outfits. Just weeks later, her duet with Brooks and Dunn hit #1. The fire became a symbol. She rebuilt again. Nobody expected a country singer to show up in a monster movie, but that's exactly what happened in 1990. Reba McEntire made her film debut in Tremors, a strange desert horror comedy where she played a gun-loving survivalist named Heather Gummer. She was holding a .50 caliber rifle, shooting giant underground creatures called Greyboids, and standing beside Kevin Bacon in the heat of the Nevada desert. Her paycheck was just $100,000, but what she got in return was far bigger. It was her first real taste of Hollywood. She later said filming scared her more than singing ever had. One scene made her scream while firing at monster puppets that each cost over $200,000 to build. The whole movie was made on a $19 million budget, but it still brought in $16 million just in the US. And something wild happened. Fans loved it. The film turned into a cult classic with 6 sequels. But the real surprise was Reba. Producers were shocked. She hit almost every scene perfectly in just one take, like she'd been acting for years. That's what gave her the acting bug. And she didn't wait long to try again. In 1991, she joined Kenny Rogers for The Gambler Returns, the luck of the draw. But behind the scenes, it was a different kind of battle. This time, the challenge wasn't a monster. It was Burt Reynolds. Reba was playing a sharp-shooting cowgirl, but Reynolds didn't like sharing the spotlight. He started rewriting her lines, cutting parts out, and adding his own. One day during a saloon scene, he even stopped the camera and demanded the director use only his version of the script. Reba later said he told her to "stick to singing, sweetheart." That line stayed with her for years. It wasn't just disrespectful. It cost CBS about $150,000 in delays because they had to reshoot scenes multiple times. Kenny Rogers had to step in. He told the team he would leave the movie if the disrespect didn't stop. Even with all that tension, the movie aired to 15.2 million viewers, becoming one of CBS's top TV films that year. And Reba? She walked away stronger, knowing how to hold her ground in a world that often wanted her to stay quiet. But not every project worked out. In 1994, she joined a big Hollywood production called North, directed by Rob Reiner. The movie had a $40 million budget and starred Elijah Wood. Reba played one of many adoptive parents, tossing in rodeo jokes that never made it into the final cut. The result? Total disaster. The movie bombed so badly, it got 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Roger Ebert called it one of the worst things he'd ever watched. Reba earned $250,000, but it came with doubt. She seriously thought about quitting acting altogether. What helped her through it wasn't Hollywood. It was Elijah, just 13 years old at the time. Between takes, he told her she was the funniest part of the whole thing. The film only made $12.8 million, and Reba's tour schedule for her album Read My Mind was already packed. She nearly walked away from Hollywood for good until Rob Reiner told her not to give up. Then in 1995, she took a huge risk. CBS cast her as Annie Oakley in Buffalo Girls, a miniseries about women of the Wild West. She trained with real rifles for 2 months straight, firing more than 500 rounds each week at a Texas ranch. One day, she misfired a prop Winchester, and a blank cartridge flew close to the head of John Toll, the cinematographer. The whole set shut down for 6 hours. Angelica Houston, who played Calamity Jane, said she was terrified during every shared gun scene, but also impressed. The series was expensive. It cost $8 million, but it pulled in 23.1 million viewers across just 2 nights. Reba didn't win the Emmy, but she got her first nomination, and she gained something more important: respect. In 1998, Reba starred in Forever Love, a CBS movie based on her own song. She was playing a woman who finds out her husband's been cheating, and the scenes hit hard. She was going through her own pain, having divorced Charlie Battles back in 1987. But now, her son Shelby was only 2 years old, and filming meant she had to leave him behind for 6 weeks. She stayed in Vancouver while he stayed home in Nashville. She cried every single night on the phone. After that movie, she made a rule. She'd never take a job that pulled her away for more than 2 weeks. The movie got 12.4 million viewers, cost CBS $3.2 million, and gave Reba one of the most honest performances of her career. The tears on camera were real. As the 1990s ended, Reba became more careful about what roles she accepted. She did voice work in Charlotte's Web in 2006, recording for just 3 days and earning $75,000. But she also turned down a $1.2 million role in a 1999 action movie because she didn't want to be seen as the country girl with a gun. She was offered 12 different film projects between 1996 and 1999, including a full Western series from ABC. But she passed on all of them. Instead, she focused on something that truly mattered to her: a sitcom called Reba. When Reba aired on October 5, 2001, nobody guessed it would change television. She played a divorced mom trying to raise a messy family. The WB network was in trouble, nearly bankrupt, but her show pulled 4.2 million viewers every week. By season 3, Reba was earning $100,000 per episode. Executives wanted her to make the show more edgy, more risque. She refused. She said families should be able to sit down and watch together. That decision paid off. The network made $50 million a year from Reba, and it ran until 2007 with 126 episodes. It saved the network. She didn't stop there. On January 26, 2001, Reba stepped onto a Broadway stage for the first time. She was 46 and starring in Annie, Get Your Gun. People doubted she could handle the role. She proved them wrong. She did 218 shows in cowboy boots and heavy costumes, sometimes with an ankle injury hidden by a brace. Ticket sales jumped 40% the moment she was announced. The show made $1.2 million each week. She got a Tony nomination, and she never missed a single night. In between, she made more TV appearances. She returned for more gambler movies, making $75,000 each time. She showed up in Young Sheldon from 2020 to 2023, playing Sheldon's Meemaw and earning $50,000 per episode. But in 2023, she took her darkest role yet in Big Sky, Deadly Trails. She played Sonny Barnes, a smiling ranch owner who turned out to be a kidnapper. Fans were shocked. She studied criminal psychology, rehearsed for weeks, and held people at gunpoint on screen. Critics called it chilling. Some even said she might be tougher in real life than anyone realized. After all, in 1991, she survived a plane crash that killed her band members. Even COVID-19 couldn't stop her. In 2021, she filmed Christmas in Tune in Utah. She caught the virus during the shoot, but kept filming. Instead of halting production and losing $1.2 million, she isolated between takes and paid $15,000 out of pocket to vaccinate the whole 47-person crew. She made $200,000 for the film, and it brought in 2.8 million viewers, the biggest holiday movie for Lifetime that year. She nearly collapsed during the final dance scene, but finished it anyway. Then came The Voice. In 2024 and 2025, she joined as a coach. She made $8 million per season and shocked everyone when she stole contestant Sydney Sturlis from Gwen Stefani. That episode on March 14, 2025, hit 10.2 million viewers, the biggest since 2019. Reba wasn't playing around. She studied contestants' social media, hired a $25,000 vocal coach, and strategized everything. The moment she hit her button and took Sydney, it lit up the internet with 50 million impressions. Later in 2024, she launched Happy's Place, a sitcom with Melissa Peterman. It premiered on October 18th and quickly averaged 6.8 million viewers per episode, the best for NBC since 2018. Reba earned $125,000 per episode. What made this show special was how personal it felt. Her character's independence after divorce mirrored her own journey after splitting from Narvel Blackstock in 2015. She even ad-libbed lines based on real conversations with her stepchildren and insisted on rewriting scenes to make them more honest. That divorce was one of the hardest parts of her life. After 26 years together, Narvel walked away, and with him, she lost more than just a husband. He was also her manager. The $47.5 million divorce settlement took nearly half her $95 million fortune. She didn't even know how much milk cost back then, but she learned. She became her own manager, her own CEO, her own everything. It turned her into a businesswoman who wasn't afraid of anything anymore. Even after that, she kept her bond with Narvel's kids. In August 2025, Brandon Blackstock, who had been married to Kelly Clarkson, passed away at just 48 from melanoma. Reba posted a tribute on Instagram, calling him irreplaceable. Kelly had just canceled her Vegas shows to support their kids, River and Remington. Reba's son, Shelby, called Brandon full of life. The family stayed united, even after divorce. And finally, in September 2025, Reba, at age 70, showed up at the Emmy Awards wearing a black ring. A reporter called Rex Lynn her fiancé, and she didn't correct them. They'd known each other since 1991, but only got close during COVID. He was 68 and had never married before. She had been married twice. This one, she said, was different. It was about joy, not survival. And for once, it looked like her story wasn't ending. It was just turning a brand new page.